Happy New Year, podheads. We're back. 2026, kicking it off right. My name is Tony. This is the Podioslave podcast. I'm joined, as always, by Nate.
Brand new year, brand new me, brand new pod.
Same old me. We nerdery for days. That's what we do around here, right?
True, it is a continuum, as you will.
Yeah, and Nate and I are doing the intro, but Anthony, Nate, and I were able to talk to Dave Buckner, which is coming here in just a minute. But if you're here from last week, we had Phil Lipscomb of Taproot again to do 25 years of gift. Thank you. If you're here from any of the stuff in the back catalog, we really appreciate you. If this is your first time clicking on a Podioslave episode, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, if you dig the new metal, we've got a bunch. Like you said, Phil. Now we got Dave. Trustco's in there.
Head PE's in there.
Head PE. It lends itself to the pod, obviously, because we're 25 and now with the new year, we're 26 years from that heyday. So yeah. And
we've done Wheel of New Metal, just the three of us. We did it with Holiday Kirk, the CEO of New Metal. So there's a lot of New Metal content back there. There's a lot of other stuff back there. Album deep dives, other artist interviews. We've been doing this for almost 6 years. So if you're new, there's a lot back there, and go check it out. There's plenty. I'm sure there's something back there that you'll dig.
Yeah, something for everyone. Industry shit, if you like the nerd stuff, deep dives, interviews, of course, a lot of collaborative stuff between our good buddy Rob, obviously, and Greg, the OG, Zebrahead OG. He's the kind of the friend of the pod, de facto sixth or fifth host.
We have so many. Yeah, it's just you, me, and Anthony usually, but we have a lot of friends that have come back a bunch of times. But this week, this is part one of a two-part conversation with Dave Buckner, the original drummer of Papa Roach. He gives us kind of the backstory on their early days, their come up, how they blew up, and what it was like navigating that early time, going into becoming a band, him leaving the band, him coming back to the band in the early days, and then all of the stuff that happened to get them when Infest dropped, and how big the lens became on Papa Roach, and just kind of the come up in the rocket ship that was that band in the early 2000s.
Yeah, fascinating story. Questions we've been thinking about for 26 years really, since the drop of Infest, at least for us in the Northeast. Like that was like kind of our first taste of the band. We didn't get those demos like they did in the SoCal and whatnot, or Northern California, from where they're from. But yeah, dude, what a cool guy. Great insight. He was geeking with us. And it was, I think the coolest part of the story is the fact that he reached out to us on this one.
Yeah, he reached out to us after seeing we did the deep dive on Infest, last year, late 2025, and was just down to clown, talk about the early days. And then part two coming next week. So don't forget, we've got set your calendars next Monday. We've got another half of this conversation that digs into after Infest and what happened with, Love-Hate Tragedy and kind of how the world was for Papa Roach in that moment too. So this is a fun one. We're really excited for you guys to be here and check it out. Now live the nerdery that we had the chance to live with Dave here a couple of nights ago now.
Yeah, no, it's always a pleasure. Again, like I said, like I was kind of alluding to earlier, just like a dream come true. And with regards to, man, I didn't think we'd have these conversations ever. Just not something you fathom as a teenager back in the day, but here we are, we did it. And we're doing it, and we're going to get into it right now with Dave.
Yep, here's our conversation with Dave Buckner, OG Papa Roach drummer. Me, Anthony, Nate, coming at you right now with Dave.
All right, Dave Buckner, live on the podcast. Dave, we're stoked, man. We are hyped for this, so thanks for joining, man.
Bro, I am so stoked to be here. Can I just say, I have to get it out there before we start. We were supposed to do this podcast last week, right? And that was the week of Christmas. I forget the date, 22nd or something like that. And we had it all set up. Monday, here we go. I'm told my wife, babe, I'm doing this podcast. It's going to be super rad. I'm so stoked. Weekend happens. We're doing family shit, whatever. Monday comes up. My wife's like, all right, we got to run here. We got to run there for all the pre-Christmas stuff like that. We have family in town, just getting things ready for them, getting the final gifts and all this shit in order. So I'm running a bunch of Christmas errands. Finally, that night, I hadn't been on Instagram all weekend because I was just so busy. And the only way that we were communicating at that point was Instagram. And I jump on Instagram. It's like the middle of the night. And I see the message from Tony. All right, man, we're good to go. Are you good to go? And I'm like, oh!
I'm sleeping, dude.
Yeah. Dude, I'm like, oh my God, dude. I totally just shit the bed, dude. And space. So I immediately messaged you. And I was like, dude, I'm so sorry, dude. I just totally just space cased it and just running around for Christmas and whatnot. And can I make it up? Can we do it? And then so we booked it for today, and I'm just really happy to be here. It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you, gentlemen. And I watched the podcast you guys did about the 25th anniversary of Infest, and it just seemed like you guys really did your homework, and I so appreciate when podcasters or anyone really, journalists or anyone like that, when they know what the fuck they're talking about, especially if you guys have personal experience, like seeing us early on in the career and back in those days, and it was a really interesting and it was a really rad listen. I listened to the whole thing, and just thank you guys for doing such a great job with that. So anyway, happy to be here.
Well,
hell yeah,
it's our fault for asking you to do something the week of Christmas. Like that's
that's a tough hang.
Maybe we all could have known a little bit better. Yeah, even me. Like I should have been like, yeah, let me think this a little bit more through, because dude, it's fucking Christmas, dude. I mean, everyone's got family in town. You're rushing here and there to get every last little bit, taking care of all the little details and but yeah, dude, I'm glad we were able to reschedule for today. So that's just super rad. Thank you guys for having me.
I love that you checked it out, because for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, we did, the three of us, Tony, Nate, and I, we did a episode on Infest, Papa Roach Infest. And Dave, you checked it out. And that's the thing with us is like, yes, it's out in the ether, but we don't know who's listening. We have no idea. So the fact that you checked it out and are kind of giving it the cosign, not kind of, you just gave it the cosign.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. I love that, man.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Because I feel like we've lived this life for a while now, but we've been putting it out into the world for almost 6 years. So to have somebody who was actively in the band that we were talking about say, yeah, that you guys did a good job with that makes my day.
That was great, dude. It was such a rad listen. And, when you guys were like, maybe one day we can have Kobe or, one of the guys from the band on, I immediately jumped on Instagram, was like, dude, you guys, I'm here. Like, let's make it happen. So
let's go.
Yeah, it was just, it's also meant to be, you know what I mean? And that's the thing I've learned with social media, sometimes, I don't podcast or anything like that. I have friends who have YouTube channels and stuff like that, but a buddy of mine, Craig, and Chris Cale from my friend Craig Gass and Chris Cale from Five Finger Death Punch have a podcast. I've been on their podcast a few times, but I don't personally, have my own show or anything. But social media, just like in my experience with just having my little Instagram accounts and whatever like that, and like for all intents and purposes, dude, like I don't exist on social media. I think I've combined between my public and private account. I think I maybe have 5,000 followers, and there's a lot of overlap between those. So not something I've pursued over the years. It's just kind of I use my Instagram, especially my personal one, more as like a photo album, like a memory bank, for my wife and my family and I to kind of just appreciate moments of our life. And that's kind of how we use our social media. And then my public account is kind of if there's something that I need to promote for Papa Roach reasons or my love of motorcycles. That's basically the two things you're going to find on my public account, which is Dave Buckner 323. But yeah, even in that little, that kind of little exposure that I have with the medium, it surprised me sometimes to find someone will jump in my comments. And I'll be like, oh shit, you saw that? That's crazy.
Yeah.
You never know who's out there watching or listening or just, stalking your shit, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. But it's so cool. The algorithm, I think, sent me that, or maybe a friend of mine sent me the link, with the clip. And I was like, dude, this seems really rad. And then I went to YouTube and listened to the full pod, and I just really enjoyed it. It was awesome.
That means a lot coming from you. I appreciate that. I think all three of us, I'm speaking for the two of you guys, Nate and Anthony, but I think we're all we started this thing as a kind of on a whim at the beginning of the pandemic. And we're just you never know who you're going to talk to. We probably never get anybody. We'll just talk about music and have fun with it. And maybe a few people will dig it, and who knows? And then we get to the point where we're talking to you about, the Papa Roach days, which is crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's wild, dude. Crazy to think that it's been 25 years since that album has dropped. That's amazing. I mean, we started the band. Kobe and I started the band. I think I was a junior and he was a sophomore in high school when we started that band. And at first, I want to say most bands, but it's not some, most bands that start as garage bands like we did, like that's kind of just where it ends. Like it begins and ends in the garage. And we were able to kind of
100%.
take it and like kind of live that, like, I don't know, man, like storybook, like childhood dream shit of like, we took it from the garage all the way to like the world stage, dude. And that's, I've learned that that's actually like super kind of rare. Like there's not many bands that do it that way. Like Black Sabbath is one,
Yep.
you know, like maybe like Red Hot Chili Peppers is another example. And, but you know, like that, like to me, but that's all I know. That's my experience. Like I only know, like, I don't know, like slugging it out, like going to like Musicians Institute or like slugging it out like in different bands along the way or like being a hired gun and all that. Like I don't know any of that. So like I have friends who are in the industry and they'll ask me advice and I'm like, that's not, I don't know if I can help you in this instance, like whatever instance or, you know, whatever advice they're asking me for. Cause I'm like, that wasn't my experience. Like I literally just started this thing as a garage band and then took it all the way up, man. You know?
Dave, you said it's kind of rare. It's fucking 1 in a million.
Super rare.
Yeah.
It's 1 in a million.
Yeah.
It never happens.
I guess so, dude. I guess you're right. Yeah. Like, yeah, that's just, but to me, like, it's crazy because, like, you know, when we were just kids, you know, making noise in the garage, like, we just all kind of like simultaneously had like the same vision and we're able to focus our energy, you know what I mean? And everything that we had, like, we gave our heart, you know, mind, body, soul, heart, you know, blood, sweat, tears, everything, all of it. We gave it all to that music, you know what I mean? And so for us to make it happen that way, like, yeah, I guess you're right. It's a 1 in a million thing, and I'm just really grateful that we were able to do it.
Wow. And those early days, you're saying you're playing in the garage, playing gigs. It's like a town outside of Sacramento, right? So it's not even
Go
like
ahead, Nate. Say it.
Yeah.
Vacayville.
Go ahead.
Vacaville. I said Vacayville a few times in another episode.
Right. Yeah, Vacaville, California. Yep, which literally means like cow town. Like Vaca in Spanish is cows.
Oh,
So
damn.
it's like you've heard of like these little cow towns in Podunk, you know, wherever. Vacaville literally means cow town. It's pretty wild. But yeah, dude. I mean, like, that being said, like, I was actually, I don't know if you guys know this part of my story, but I was a transplant. Like I moved from LA. So I was like a city kid from LA, like West LA. My whole family's from there, like Santa Monica, Venice, Culver City. Like that's my old stomping grounds, right? And I had gone to junior high in Santa Monica at a school called Lincoln Middle School. And funny enough, dude, I was telling this story to a friend of mine the other day, but so me and Shifty from Crazy Town, right?
Rest in peace.
Yeah, dude. Rest in peace, Seth, dude. Well, like, Seth's my bro, dude. Like, and he helped me so much later in my life and like and in my sobriety. And that's a whole other story. We can get into that too if we want to. But so like, but me and Shifty from Crazy Town and fucking, you remember Sons of Anarchy, that TV show? Remember Opie, the actor Ryan Hurst? Opie, remember he played Opie on Sons of Anarchy? We all went to fucking junior high together, dude.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Another 1 in a million.
Yeah. Wild, man.
Well, Nate and I went to junior high together, but we didn't make it to the world stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is our world stage right here.
This is it. I mean, yeah, you're on it right now, dude. Like,
We're literally on it.
yeah, dude. Thank God for the internet, dude. Like, think about how much like just having this has changed the landscape of media in the last like 15 years, dude. Like, it's a totally, like, I don't really know anyone who watches like regular TV anymore. I don't.
No.
I watch YouTube. I listen to like Apple Music or Spotify or whatever. You know, I listen to podcasts. You know, I watch podcasts. I watch like all homegrown content. You know, it's like I don't even really watch like cable or any of that other stuff anymore. You know.
So Dave, I gotta know, when you guys started in the garage, what was the sound like? What were you guys like? You and Jacoby, like what were you going for? It's like let's do Red Hot Chili Peppers. Let's do Black Flag. What were you doing?
Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, it was a mess, dude. It was a mess. Like, we were making. First of all, we didn't know how to play our instrument, right? Like, I had started playing drums maybe at 12. I took a year of lessons, and then I quit lessons. I had a really good teacher, by the way. It was this lady named Kay Carlson down in Westchester, California, near where I used to live, and she was an amazing teacher. But like, you know, I was like, after a year of lessons, I was like, oh yeah, I got it from here, dude. Don't worry about it. Like, see you later, Kay. Like, you know, it's like, I'll pick it, and then basically I taught myself how to play by listening to, and it's funny because Dave Grohl from what's that one band? Dave Grohl, everyone, that guy.
Nirvana, and then
Yeah,
Foo
yeah,
Fighters.
Foo Fighters.
Bro.
But I hear him tell the story, and we have the same story. We both taught ourselves how to play drums by basically listening to Led Zeppelin on our headphones and then playing along on our kit. And but I would put on all kinds of stuff like, I would play along to like Zeppelin and old, Black Sabbath and like Jimi Hendrix. I'd try to play to like Mitch Mitchell stuff, and then I was influenced by a lot of those 90 like grunge bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Chili Peppers, like Chad Smith, he's probably like my number one influence. Like him and John Bonham are like my two top influences, like in the way I play that. And then a huge drum influence from me, like I if you can tell by the music, like I grew up listening to rap and rock at the same time. So like a lot of my introduction after like getting introduced to band like the old classic bands like Zeppelin and Hendrix and Sabbath and all that, like I like the first tape I ever bought on my own was the Beastie Boys cassette.
Oh yeah.
So like that, and then like Run DMC and like NWA and like that kind of shit, dude. So like that's what I grew up on, and that heavily influenced the way I play too. But as far as when we started, there was no game plan, dude. It was just like, let's get together in the garage. Like originally Kobe was going to play bass, and we hatched this plan to like, let's jam it in my garage. And we had a couple jams together, and then Jacoby's bass got stolen. Like out of he had this Ford Ranger pickup with a camper shell on the back, and he had it in the back of that. I forget where he was parked at school or his after school job or something like that. And someone stole the damn bass, and he's like, dude, like I don't have an instrument anymore. What are we going to do? And I'm like,
I think it's on eBay. I think it's on eBay right now.
Yeah, probably.
So I was like, dude, all right. He's like, I don't have money to buy another bass. I'm like, dude, just sing. It's free. And that was it, dude. We went and filled out the band from there. We got a couple guys from around town and just started making noise. And really at the beginning, it really was just noise. Like we didn't know what we were doing whatsoever at all.
So you owe that person for Papa Roach. Like you owe
for stolen the bass. Yeah.
The stolen bass.
Yeah,
it was
dude.
me, Dave. I did it.
Yeah, for sure.
You were like
for
5.
Sure.
I was 8. No, I was. Oh man.
And Kobe, I mean, you made him a singer and a songwriter. Was he writing songs before, like as a?
No, dude. At first, like I was writing all the songs, dude. I was writing all the lyrics. I mean, they were pretty shitty lyrics, dude. You know what I mean? But yeah, like at first, like I was writing, like we had a couple songs, like shit. I keep trying to think of the name of them, but like they were really horrible. They were horrible. And my lyrical writing hasn't gotten much better over the years, but like it was a role that I continued to fill throughout my career in the band. Like me and Jacoby would work on lyrics together. If I had lyrics, I would you'd always be like, oh, put them in my notebook, put them in my lyric notebook. And I would have like one-liners or like a grouping or whatever like that. And I just throw it in there, and then they would pop up in different songs, or Kobe was stuck on, a chorus or I need a line for this or a line for that. We'd bounce stuff off each other all the time. So I was like pretty heavily involved in that department as well.
So when after that then was the band fully formed and you guys started like gigging and, jumping in the van and start playing shows, touring and whatnot?
I want to say around, let's see, we pretty much were like doing like the backyard party thing and maybe a coffee shop here and there, or like a punk rock, like parking lot type shows, you know what I mean? Like that, like for a couple years. And right around 94. So like at the band at that time, by the time we became like a fully like formed actual like rock band, because for like the first year, like it was me, Jacoby, our bass player, Will James, and then a trombone player, our friend Ben Luther, who played trombone.
Wow. Jesus, I didn't know that. Wow.
We actually, a month after forming, we entered our high school talent show and we covered fucking Jimi Hendrix Fire with a fucking drums, bass, and a fucking trombone, dude. Like,
how did it go? Did it go
no
great?
Guitar. It was fucking amazing, dude. It was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, like, my God, you should have been there. You should have been there. It was awe-inspiring. But so Ben lasted, a few months after the talent show, and then he was like, I think I'm going to kind of skip out. And we found Jerry Horton, and we recruited Jerry from across town. He went to a high school across town from us in Vacaville, and it took some doing to convince him to come over because he had heard of us already, and at that point we were just kind of still like, you know, a lot like our original bass player Will James was heavily influenced by like Fire Hose and the Minutemen, like Mike Watt bands.
Yeah, nice.
Fugazi, you know, stuff like that. And he did a little bit of slapping, but not as much as like who came later, which was Tobin. Anyway, so like we had the lineup was me, Jacoby, Jerry, and Will for like a year or two. And right around when I was graduating high school in '94, my dad came to me one night and he's like, dude, you know, like we need to have that talk about like what do you want to do with your life? And I'm like, well, I think I want to play music, Dad. That's what I want. He's like, nah, that's never gonna work. Like you need to find something that you can like actually do. And I was a really like my second kind of, you know, passion in life was art and design. And so I said, all right, Dad, like I'll sign up for art school in Seattle. I went to the Art Institute of Seattle when I graduated. So I had to tell my band, like, guys, like, I gotta step out, dude. Like, you know, I'm going to art school. And they're like, nah, dude, no worries, like whatever. And at this point, like there was no like dog in the fight. There was no horse in the race yet. You know, we were just all having fun, and it just none of it really mattered yet.
What year is this?
This is 1994.
Okay.
And I moved
early.
so I leave off to Seattle. They find my replacement, which is our friend Ryan Brown, who was a local guy, super amazing drummer. Like his dad was a drummer in the 1970s and 80s, and just very talented dude. I go away to art school. I experiment with psychedelics, and one night after tripping balls on like I want to say it was mescaline or something like that, I had this vision. And this is only like maybe like half a semester in, like to art school, my first year of art school. And my vision was like, you know, something told me like, you need this is art school. This is not for you. You need to go back to Vacaville and get back in your band. That's what you need to do. And
Crazy.
I remember the apartment that I had was it was right across the street from Bad Animal Studio, which is a really well-known studio in Seattle. And I literally had like, you know, like direct like line of sight to the front door of Bad Animals from my third story apartment window. And I would see like musicians come and go all day. And I would just think, you know, I'd be there doing my, you know, my homework or, you know, doing my artwork, my design stuff, and watch people come in and out of there, like, you know, hoofing equipment in and out and just walking in and out. I'm like, that's what I should be doing. Like, I should be doing that. Like, this isn't like, I love this. This is cool, but that's what I need to be doing, you know? And so like, you know, I have this like mescaline trip and I'm like staring out the window. It was like this really like rainy, like it was super rainy, like summer day or like early fall day. And I remember like the song Yellow Ledbetter from Pearl Jam came on the radio that I had going there. The rock station up there was playing Yellow Ledbetter. And something like in all of that whole moment, I'm like watching the front door of Bad Animals, Pearl Jam's on the radio. My heart is in Vacaville. And I just made the decision. Like I called my dad up that day and said, Dad, I'm quitting art school. I want to come home and I want to get back in my band.
That's a power move. That's a power move, man.
Yeah.
Damn.
And
that was the right move
dude.
too, right?
Dude, absolutely, dude. Of course. So like my dad's like, okay, like we'll come up and get you. Just finish out the semester and I'll come get you. So I did. And then I get back to Vacaville and I hadn't talked to any of the guys yet. So of course they have a whole new lineup. I have to fucking convince them to let me back in the fucking band, dude.
That's
Oh,
where I was
damn.
going in my head. I'm like, you gotta try out for your own fucking band.
Pick up the trombone, Dave.
And so like I remember I go back to, you know, I think they were playing like some backyard party or something, or I connected with them over, you know, just because, you know, they're not hard to find. And I'm like, guys, like I came back from art school, like I had this vision, you know, like we're gonna do this band thing, like, you know, and they're like, I don't, you know, what are you talking about, Dave? I'm like, no, dude, like trust me, man. I had this mescaline trip. It's gonna be fucking like we're gonna make our dreams come true. And I'm like, I just need to get back in the band. And they're like, but we have a drummer already. We have one.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'll play percussion and do backing vocals. And they're like, all right, come back and do that. So for like a year after that, like 95, and that's when we started playing clubs. So I get back in the band and then I immediately take over as manager of the band. And I'm the one who, like, I had like a fake identity. We called him Chachi Aracola. And I would call different clubs around the Bay Area in Sacramento as Chachi Aracola and be like, yes, I manage a band called Papa Roach. We're looking for an opening slot, you know, like whatever night you have. And of course, it's like a Monday night opening for whoever, whatever other local bands are playing. And, but we started getting club gigs, and that's when we started like kind of doing the club thing. And, you know, we started out, you know, Monday night at Berkeley Square, you know, opening for whoever. And then, you know, within a short amount of time, like we were like Friday night headliners at Berkeley Square, which I don't know if you know about or familiar with that club, but Primus recorded their first live album, Stuck on This, there at Berkeley Square. That was recorded at Berkeley Square. It's a really, that and then the Cattle Club in Sacramento are like two like iconic, you know, clubs in Northern California area. So we kind of did that. We kind of started bouncing around back and forth between those clubs and then working our way over to San Jose, over into like Petaluma, you know, just anywhere we could play, you know what I mean? But we, you know, like I was like, dude, you guys, like, we're going to make it happen. And like everyone kind of started falling in line with the vision and saying, all right, let's do it. So like everyone would like, we would practice all week. Some of us were still in school. Some of us were kind of like doing college full time, had a job, and then go to band practice like every night of the week and then tour on the weekends. And it started that way. And then the weekends got longer and longer. So it would go from like Friday, Saturday, Sunday to like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You know what I mean?
Damn.
And finally I set us up with a showcase at this club in Hollywood called the Dragonfly. Sorry, my dog's here. She wants me to.
That's okay. Not the first pet that's joined Podioslave.
We encourage pet
we love
appearances.
pets joining. Yes.
She wants me to pick her eye booger. Or you want to say hi, buddy?
So Dave, are you guys Papa Roach at this point?
We are Papa Roach. We are officially Papa Roach. And we, like I said, so we get our first gig in LA at this club called the Dragonfly on Santa Monica Boulevard in East Hollywood somewhere. And we get the date confirmed, it's booked, whatever. And then our bass player Will's like, I can't do the gig. Like he was all good to go. And then like, I think 2 weeks before the gig, like he's like, I can't go. And we're like, why? And he's like, my dad is making me, he signed me up to be a counselor at church camp.
Of course.
And so we're like,
man.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. And like,
stolen
dude,
guitars,
we
church camp, art school. This is great, Dave.
Yeah. And so we're like, okay, what the fuck do we do? I'm like, we're not giving up this gig. So we had a friend, a younger friend of ours who had just started going to Vaca High. I had already graduated, but Tobin was a freshman, and I believe Kobe was a senior. And we knew this kid named Tobin who could play the shit out of his bass. I mean, like him and Will were like, in our eyes and in a lot of people's eyes in the local scene, were like the two best bass players. So we holler at Tobin, who was already kind of in the friend group. He was in the camp. You know, he would like help us like load in and out at like some of our little club gigs and shit. And we're like, Tobin, like, you want to fill in for Will, you know, for this LA gig? You know, it's our first gig. And he's like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm down, dude. Let's go. And so like in 2 weeks, like he learned all the songs. We went down there, we did the gig, and it was like right after the gig, dude, like something just like, it was kind of one of those things where it was like, we just all kind of felt like, this is the lineup. It's Jacoby, Tobin, Dave, and Jerry. And that was it. And yeah, but by that time also Ryan had worked his way out of the band. Like he found like other interests that he was into. And so I became the drummer instead of percussionist. So I took over the drum spot. And yeah, dude, we went down and played that gig. And from then on, it was on, dude. And we were just like fully locked in, fully committed. You know, anything we could do to make it happen, we were going to make happen.
So at that point, you said you were gigging like locally and whatnot. Was there a shift like playing local, call it backyard barbecues, like you're saying, to like playing with bands like Cake and Deftones and Far, like the local legends? Or was that already happening prior to that? Or was that like the kickoff to that?
No, it was kind of like how we entered in that world. It's funny because, you know, in Sacramento, like we were kind of the outlier. We used to call ourselves the bastard stepchildren of the Sacramento scene because
Nice.
I knew the Deftones guys like pretty early on. And I would go over to Chino's house and like bring him our like whatever demo tape we had cooking and like whatever
Nice.
t-shirt. I was like, just trying to like I'm like, dude, let us open for you. Let us open for you. He's like, yeah, dude, like, yeah, man, just call Dave Park, our manager. Like, he'll figure that out. And he's like, it's cool and shit. Like, yeah, like, just call Dave. And I called Dave Park, who was their manager at the time, and he'd be like, you guys just aren't big enough. You need to make your own noise first before we just let you open for us, And at this point, Deftones wasn't even signed, but they were like the big brother band. Like they were like the king shit of the local Sacramento scene, right? So them and Far, and there was a couple bands who were like that. Like Infest was another one. Will Haven was around, I think, by that time. And so how this happened was a friend of ours named Greg Patterson, who was also in a band. He started working for the city Parks and Rec department of Vacaville. And he somehow worked out this deal where we could rent out the community center and put on our own shows. And then we'd split like the profit with the city. Right. And so we started doing that. And it started like, even like the first couple shows were pretty good. They were like pretty good numbers showing up, like just local, like 200-300. But then we started selling it out. And that's like 700 kids. And
that's
so
a lot of kids. That's a shitload of kids.
It's a lot, like 700. Yeah. And that's not just Vacaville. There's people coming in from like all over. So like our fan base started to grow and grow and grow. We started to make our own noise. The next thing you know, we're getting opening spots for Deftones at Berkeley Square, at Sacramento. I don't think we played the Cattle Club with Deftones. Maybe we did. I'm not sure. We'll have to go check the records for that one. But we started getting like, kind of opening spots for bigger bands like in the Northern California area and playing bigger shows. And we started headlining Berkeley Square and headlining, clubs in Sacramento. And it all kind of started from this little scene we had cooking in Vacaville, at which we were like the king, the king shit band in that scene. So by making a name for ourselves, we were able to start, and that started attracting attention, from like, so bands like, okay, Snot came up and opened for us, like at Vacaville Community Center.
Love it.
Incubus came up, opened for us at
Vacaville
Community Center. I believe, I think, okay, I could be wrong, but I want to say even System of a Down came up and opened for us at the Vacaville Community Center.
That would make sense. That time.
I could be wrong. Yeah, but it's all like, so all, it was like that time in like the late 90s where a lot of bands were on the come up and we were on the come up too. We just, and just by doing that, and then we started networking with bands like Head PE and Alien Ant Farm from down in Southern California. So like Head PE would come up and play like a show either in Sacramento or Reno or somewhere in the Bay Area. We'd get to open for them up there. And then, we'd trade shows, you know what I mean? Back and forth. Like we had Alien Ant Farm come open for us in Vacaville, and then they would have us open for them down in Riverside where they were from. And it all kind of like, it's like we just started in a little small, circle and just spiraled out and started growing and growing. And pretty soon, like we had a name, and then, we were also putting out our own independent album. So we put out Old Friends from the Young Years in 1997 and a couple EPs after that too. And between that record and the two EPs we put out afterwards, we sold like 10,000 units. And that is like,
that's so many.
That's like some pretty undeniable numbers for a totally independent, like
100%.
out of the trunk of your car type band, out of the van. You know what I mean? And so that's when, like, we had submitted demo tapes to record labels the whole time along the way. Nobody was interested, but it was when we started doing real numbers on our own, that's when we started getting hits from the record label. All of a sudden, they wanted to take us out to dinner and like, oh, let's talk about it.
Wait, 10,000 there. Let's go. Imagine what you could do if you had us behind you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny, Dave. We had Marco Siega on the podcast like 2 months ago.
I love Marco.
Oh, dude, all-time guest. But he was saying, like, before he took the Last Resort music video directing gig, I forget who it was. The video commissioner at the time was like, there's this band, Papa Roach from Vacaville, cult following, and he went to see you guys at the Troubadour. And actually, we put together a reel on Instagram about this, but he was like, yeah, dude, that was the wildest show I've ever been to.
Yeah.
And he's like, I saw Bad Brains, I saw Sick of It All, I saw the Cro-Mags. He's like, yeah, so he was in from the jump.
Dude, man, like, we brought it, dude. That was the thing, too. That was a lot of, like, some solid advice that was given to us by like, bands like the Deftones or, other local bands is like, dude, just get out there and just like, you have to like, just fucking bring it. Like, if you're not bringing it, if you're not budging crowds, that's what we call it. You got to budge crowds, dude, or nothing's going to happen. And so like, we put so much energy into like, whenever we played a show, it was like the last, it's like we're playing our last show ever, no matter what show we played. Like, we gave everything. We left it all on the stage. You know what I mean?
I can attest to that too, because what was it? I think it was the second leg of the Infest tour.
Providence?
No, in
Boston?
At the Orpheum Theater in Boston. Yeah. It was a seated venue, and Alien Ant Farm actually opened this gig. It was in 2001, I think. And Kobe's like, fuck this shit. You guys are all seating. Just like, everyone just come down, just rush the stage. Let's just fucking go. Everyone rushed down. People are tearing seats out. It was the first time I ever got on stage and stage dove multiple times. And they actually like shut down the lights and tried to reorganize. And I hid behind one of your guys' monitors for a while until they turned it back on and jumped off stage again.
It's amazing.
Hell yeah.
But to your point, like we've collectively been to thousands of shows, but it's the only time in all the shows that I've been to that it was like that kind of like shit you see in movies, or like the grunge era where like Eddie's climbing the stage and shit. I've never been to another show like that. It was like one of one. I was like, this is fucking insane. I never thought I would even have an opportunity to stage dive, be on stage, hide behind a monitor, not get my ass kicked by security. And Kobe's just like, let's fucking go. Like, everyone just rushed the stage. He's basically said, fuck the rules, because the Orpheum Theater in Boston is pretty strict. You have to stay in your seat. They're really tight about that. I don't know if you remember that gig. I actually talked to you guys about it back in Maine a while ago with Kobe specifically, when you guys were supposed to open for Guns N' Roses, but it was like a big memory for me for that. Just to kind of underscore what you're talking about with like the wild shows.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, and that gig in particular, like I know the venue. I know we played the venue. Do I vividly remember that particular gig? Yeah, it's, I mean, like at a certain point, like gigs, everything starts playing. Yeah, there's a lot of gigs, man, but I mean, it definitely sounds familiar and definitely tracked. Like, it definitely tracked with like our MO at that time, which was just like, fucking, let's just bring the chaos in the most beautiful way. You know what I mean? And for us, that's what it was about. It was, and for us, it, it represented, like our connection to the crowd and the energy, like the kind of energy feedback loop that we would get, at a show, where like the crazier the crowd was, the crazier we would be, and then vice versa. So like, we're like doing like this. And yeah, dude, it was, I mean, just the young, wild, crazy, fucking energetic shit. Like you were saying, it's like, yeah, like seeing Eddie Vedder climb the scaffolding at like, like those early, Pro Jam gigs. And like I think, somewhere either subconsciously or not subconsciously, like we were kind of all influenced by that kind of energy as well. Or just, or like your New York hardcore scenes, like, your Madball or your Sick of It All or H2O or, that like they would come through and like play like in the Bay Area. We'd go see them. Like we opened for Bad Brains at the Maritime Hall in San Francisco. And just, sitting there and like, not just having the opportunity to open but kind of sit down and like take notes, you know what I mean? And like, see like, okay, what are they doing? Like, what's the crowd doing? Like, how is this all happening? And like having opportunities like that, where you can like be a student of like, like a legendary band, you know what I mean? Like, what an opportunity that is. And like and then just allow that to influence what you bring to the table, and then we did.
Yeah, you absolutely did. And you made noise, and you got on the radar of, DreamWorks, and had a major label, and really just blew up. I think you were on tour with, we had Phil from Taproot on a couple weeks back, and he's been on a couple of times, but you were on tour with them as the rocket ship was going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, they went from being in a van to being in a tour bus, like 4 gigs in. We were like, holy shit, look at these guys.
That must have been a fucking movie.
Yeah.
It was a whole fucking movie, dude. It literally was, man. It was like, and to me, it's like when I say that like my childhood dreams came true, like it's like that times 1,000, dude. Like just the whole ride. Like we had no idea. Like we knew that we were gonna do something. We didn't know it was gonna be all of that. You know what I mean? Or like, and just like later to find out that like, yeah, dude, it doesn't really happen like that for like most bands. Like, maybe like a Nirvana or, there's a few examples along the way, but this thing was like, it was insane. It was just like, and there was no way to like, for me to center myself in the middle of all of that. I just kind of had to like, just kind of like, I think someone had, like our manager had said, you know what, just buckle up and hold on, dude, because we're going for a fucking ride and there's nothing you could do to stop it. You know what I mean? Like, we're just going, dude. So just go with it. And that's all we could do, really, you know, because we weren't expecting that, you know, like, we weren't expecting it to go down like that at all. It was nuts. Like that first Taproot tour, like we headed out on the road with them. We were in a van, they were in a van. They met us out somewhere on the West Coast, and we worked our way back to the East Coast. We opened for them on the East Coast because they were a bigger band. They opened for us on the West Coast because we were a bigger band on the West Coast. And then we kind of split up for like, we took like a week break or something like that between legs of the tour. And by the time we got back on tour, like shit had just like hit the fan, and it was like, dude, let's go. Like that was just like lightning in a bottle type shit. Like it was like being on like a roller coaster, dude, like Demon Hell Ride. That's what we called it. It was the Demon Hell Ride of success. Yeah.
So in the moment, were you like, this is what we wanted? Or was it like, holy shit, like there's a business side to this, there's, you know, management, all that? Like, how was that element of it in the moment?
I think the blessing of all of it. Okay, so I think that all of us in the band had watched enough behind the music episodes to kind of at least have some sense of like, okay, like we're gonna go in, but we're gonna have like a healthy skepticism about all of it, right?
Yeah.
And then Nirvana's produced, you know, Steve Albini, who produced In Utero for Nirvana, he published an article in a zine. I think it was in a lot of different zines, like a lot of different zines around that time. Kids, if you don't know what a zine is, it's kind of, imagine a magazine, but you might not even know what a magazine is at this point.
Yeah.
So imagine like a printed blog, right? It's like a blog,
that's the way
print.
to do it.
Go start one. That's the punchline.
Yeah.
And so they'd be like these homemade, like, you know, photocopied, like basically booklets that had different articles, like about different bands or, you know, editorial pieces from different people in the music scene. Anyway, Steve Albini had published, had written this article about how the music business works. And like, it was like a real like tell-all about like, okay, like the record label, like that's like, they're like a bank and they lend you money. And this is how you pay back the money. It's not how you think it works. And he really broke it all the way down. And all of us like read that like it was gospel, you know what I mean? And so when we went and found our manager, Brett there, and Gary Avila, who we added shortly after Brett, the great thing about them is that they were also new. They were kind of like, they weren't big names in the business. They were kind of coming up from the same local scenes we were, Northern California. And they only wanted like the best they wanted to do the best they could for us. And so they were really protective of us. They were really, you know, they advised us to be cautious with whatever money came in, to watch how the money came in, like where it was going. Like when we take advances from the label, we shouldn't like spend it frivolously. We should spend it on stuff that actually matters, yada, yada, yada. We had a great lawyer named Elliot Kahn who helped us. First, he did the legal for our demo deal with Warner Brothers, and later on represented us when we were signing with DreamWorks. And he just had like the best. He was really looking out for us, you know. And that original team, it was like we had such a camp that was protective of each other in that it helped us kind of navigate that, you know, a little bit better than it would have if we didn't have that. You know what I mean?
That's a blessing. That's an absolute blessing because that didn't happen for a lot of people, especially around that time when there's a lot of money in the industry. Like the late 90s, early 2000s, they were printing money. They were grabbing bands from everywhere. They were putting them out. And a lot of people did not have that. So good for you guys.
Yeah, man. It really worked out.
And pre-internet. So you had to trust the people around you. And that's why, like, hey, the power of a fucking zine, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that you guys found it, you know what I mean?
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's crazy times, man.
It's, you know, it's crazy. Like no one, I mean, you wouldn't really expect it, but there's a deep thread between like the underground punk scene that was happening at that time. Let's say like all the way from DC out to like Washington and down Southern California. So that whole zine culture, the whole Riot Girl culture, the whole like your like Sub Pop and K bands, like they would come through and play Vacaville and we would go see it. So we were like, we would catch all this information. Like people don't really associate that we were kind of in that scene. Like we came from that, you know, there was like this deep thread that ran back and forth between Olympia and like LA through Sacramento and Vacaville. And you wouldn't necessarily think that we would be exposed to that or be part of that, but we were. Like it was heavily influential on not necessarily our music, but like how we viewed like our DIY attitude and, you know, our punk rock ethics, you know what I mean? Like we really kind of were bringing all those values with us when we came up, even though our music wasn't, you know, it was different from all those bands.
Well, we sniffed that out, Dave. We put a reel together from that episode, which is Papa Roach was a punk band disguised as a nu metal band.
Yes, dude. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, dude. You have no idea like how much.
I love that.
Thank you. Because it's true. It's
and it was just
true, dude.
like Nate said, like his first stage dive was at the Orpheum Theater in Boston.
A seated venue.
Because of Papa Roach.
Because of Papa Roach.
The strictest venue in terms of security detail that I've ever been to in my whole life. You know, so
somehow got in for free.
Yeah. Well, that was a WAAF radio contest one day.
Oh, let's go, dude.
Yeah. Back in the day. Yeah, back in the day.
So, Dave, we did the 25 years of Infest episode, which you heard, obviously. Are you down to dig into Love, Hate, Tragedy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll talk about anything you guys want, man. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
And the thing is, Dave, like, we'd love to have you back for Infest. Even though we just talked about it, like, let's get you back, you know?
Let's do it, dude. You know what, man? I got nothing but time these days, man. Like I'm chilling out. I live in Idaho, for FYI, for you guys and for anyone who is watching the pod or listening to the pod. Yeah, I moved my family out here in 2020, shortly after we came out of lockdown from the pandemic. We spent basically all year locked in our house in California, and when they finally let us out, we're like, let's get the fuck out of California. So we moved up to the Boise area, Treasure Valley area, and that's where we've been ever since.
Damn. Do you kick it with Jared Gomes from Head PE?
Dude, I just saw him at the Non-Point show. Non-Point Theater came through and played at the Knitting Factory.
Yeah.
And I ran into Jared, and I was like, dude, we're both here. Like I'd known that he lived here when I got here, but I was like, all right. And I didn't have his number at the time. I had it a long time ago, but I lost track of him. And I'm really good friends with Head PE's original drummer, BC.
Nice.
And I'm like, and I was talking to him on the phone, and I was like, dude, I know Jared's out here. Like, I'm like, can link me up with him? And he's like, dude, nobody can get a hold of him. Like, he's kind of a fucking, he's kind of not a recluse, but he's just Jared, dude. You know what I mean? And so I literally, like, every time we go out, you know, I'd be looking around, maybe Jared will pop up at one of these spots I'm in, and he never did. And finally at the Non-Point Theater show, like, I finally saw him. I'm like, dude, you're here. And he's like, oh, cool. And I'm like, dude, we should. And I introduced him to my wife, and he introduced his wife, you know. And so we had that moment, and it was cool. And I'm like, dude, we should hang out. And he's like, yeah, we'll do that. I haven't seen him since, so yeah.
Oh,
so Dave, what goes on in that like slim part of Idaho you know, what goes on up there?
You know, I don't know. I haven't been up there. I don't go up there, dude. I don't go up there. I heard it's really beautiful, but it's kind of like, I think the phrase I like to say is, if you don't belong, don't be long up there.
Yep.
It's like the handle, the Oklahoma handle. Like, don't trust that.
Yeah.
So like I kick it down on the southwest side. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, west side. Like Boise's like, you know, it's like more closer to like Oregon, like the Oregon, Nevada. Or like we're kind of like in between the high desert and the PNW. So we're kind of like mountain west. We get kind of like a little bit of everything around here. Like some of our environment is like high desert, and then like, but it's like a short drive out to like the deep like forest, beautiful mountain.
That's cool.
Roads. And I ride Harleys, right? So for me, it's some of the best riding I've ever had in my life, dude. I feel blessed to live here. It's awesome for that.
That's sick. Yeah, if you're not from here, don't be long. That's northern Maine. We're from southern Maine originally. And then all of us are back here in Maine. And if you get north of Lake Bangor. That's yeah. They're
Turn
very
around,
nice,
baby.
but they're
Turn
like,
around.
don't stay, right? You're gonna get out of here, right? Please.
I think I've read enough Stephen King books that talk about that area of the country to know that kind of get a little taste for what
don't look him in
it
the
should
eye.
be like over there. Yeah.
Don't look him in the eye.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That's it right there. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, that wraps up part 1. Part 2 coming at you next week, where we dig into all the stuff that happened after Infest blew up and what Love, Hate, Tragedy was like, the writing process, all that stuff. So it's pretty exciting. We're happy that you guys check this one out, but mark your calendars. Next Monday, another episode with Dave Buckner. Part 2 coming at you then. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Podioslave. We are at Podioslave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places that you can find us on social media. Facebook, Podioslave Podcast. YouTube, Podioslave Podcast there. Email us at podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to become a supporter, click on the link at the bottom of the episode and give us $1, give us $5. It keeps the lights on, keeps us going. We really appreciate that stuff. Thank you.